Today we're gonna be making our wrist and our palm as a start for our clay hands. So let's start with the wrist. As you can see from this paper, your wrist is a cylindrical form. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and draw a cylinder. So on your paper, I want you to go ahead and draw a cylinder. So what you wanna do is up at the top, you're gonna draw an oval. Okay. And we're gonna do wrist and a part of our forearm, not the whole forearm, but probably 5 inches, something like that. Okay. So on your paper, you want to draw an oval for the top of the cylinder. All right. And then when you draw your lines, there are a couple rulers on your desk. So if you prefer, you can line up a ruler, or you can freehand it, either way, doesn't matter to me, and give a slight angle to the cylinder so it gets a little bit bigger towards the base, okay? Just like your arm does, right? Your arm gets bigger as it goes further down the forearm, okay? All right, and then the bottom of your cylinder, you're going to draw a curved shape, okay? So, and this is, you're gonna write your wrist. So one of the things you might want to do today as you're going along is to take some measurements, okay? So my suggestion is there's a ruler, should be a ruler there on your desk, and go ahead and measure the width of your wrist. Okay, everybody's wrist is going to be a little different. My wrist where it touches the hand is about 2.5 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself that measurement because it's going to be helpful when I'm sculpting to have that measurement. About 2.5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to go about 5 inches down, 5 or 6 inches down, and I'm going to measure again. And now we're looking at 3 1/4, 3.5 inches. Okay, so it sort of tapers down as you go down towards the end. Imagine if you had a cross section of your wrist. The wrist is sort of, it's more oval than it is round. So if I look at my wrist on this side, I am 2.5 inches. If I look at from the side, I'm 1.5 inches. So that's not it's not a circle, it's a cylinder. I mean an oval cylinder. So this is 2.5 and this is 1.5. I think I'll repeat that so it makes more sense. Your wrist and your forearm is a cylindrical form, but it's an oval because the side is not as thick as the front. Okay? So when you measure this, give yourself a front sort of width and then a side sort of depth. All right, so that's the first thing we're going to do today. The second thing we're going to do today is we're going to do a palm. Okay? So your palm, as you look at it, I'm just going to draw basically this part of it up here above the fingers and down. And if you want to include your thumb, you can, but you might want to make sure you separate it because we're going to you can almost think like a catcher's mitt. We're kind of creating the form of the palm, and then we'll be adding the fingers tomorrow. All right, so let's go ahead and draw that. So this kind of comes down here. That's that side of it. Okay, so it's coming down here and coming out. All right, so I know this is going to become the wrist, right? So I'm just going to leave a notion of a wrist there, but I am going to draw the palm part. So pay attention what happens here on your hand. So one of the things I would say about drawing your hand or sculpting your hand is you need to look at the information that's there. So you kind of have to look, see what you see. Okay? Pay attention to what you're looking at. Okay? So that's sort of the palm there. And then of course you can add in the thumb if you want, but I'm just going to start with the palm. Basic shape of the palm. And then I'm going to measure, just like I did last time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and look at my width. I'm not including my thumb right now. It's 3.5 inches. Okay, so if I'm not including my thumb, it's 3.5 inches, 3 3/8 inches, something in there. And then let's go ahead and measure the height there. Right at the middle finger, I'm at 4 inches. Yeah, so it's approximately 4 inches. We're going to go. Let's go for 4 inches here. I'm going to go ahead and give an estimate. And again, these are estimates, and it just helps as you're sculpting, right? To have a sense of, oh, okay, this is about how big I need to make it. Okay, so you know, when you're doing that, you're kind of looking at it and going, okay, it's approximately 3.5 by 4, and you know, you can play around with that a little bit. Okay, our last drawing is the side view. And again, as you're doing this, both drawing and sculpting, there's observation involved. All right, so I'm looking at my hand from the side, and what I want to draw is I want to draw the tops of the fingers, and the tops of this fingers, this is like a 1/2 inch wide, or even a little bit less, right? All the way down to where my palm is. And at the palm, it's about 1 3/4 thick. Okay? So I want to really make that notion that up here, it's much thinner, right? And then as I go down, you know, your fingers taper down. So you might start kind of just a light sketchy, kind of rough it out a little bit. Figure out about more or less where the thumb is going to be. Your thumb has an interesting and different shape than all the other fingers. Okay. Draw that out. And then you want to get this gets bigger as it comes out towards the knuckles. Okay. And then you can draw in and make it a little bit more detailed. So I always start with sort of a rough and then come in and start to get some of the details. The fingernail up here is going to be on the side. Okay. I want to kind of figure out where each of those finger segments are. I can put a little shading in here. If you have the drawing pencils, they shade really nice, especially the B pencils have a very soft feel to them. It's really easy to give a little shade to it. Creates a little depth. Okay. And this is also when you make adjustments. So, you know, drawing is getting an idea, and then, you know, you're making something two-dimensional that's really three-dimensional. So you have to make adjustments. So this was wrong here, so I'm fixing that. So if I'm drawing and something doesn't look right, I fix it. You're going to need 2 chunks of clay, approximately about that size, to make your wrist and your hand. Okay, take the larger chunk of clay, wedge it out with your hands, And then use the table. I want you to kind of make your cylinder for your wrist. Okay? So you're basically rolling it like a kind of a large, what are they called? Those Swiss rolls or something? Okay? And then take it and kind of pound it on the table. You'll get a fatter bottom. Okay, so you're rolling it on the table. And then the other thing you can do is kind of lay your wrist down and see if it's similar. Okay, so I'm rolling it, flattening out the bottom, rolling it, flattening out the top. Okay. The roll is a bit of a gentle roll. I think the hardest thing for some people is the roll. Okay. When your cylinder is approaching your arm, you can use a ruler if you need to double check to see if it's pretty close. Okay. All right, when I measured this earlier, I believe it was 2.5 up at the top and 3.5 at the bottom. So it's a little bit small yet. And then I want to make this, excuse me, I want to make the cross section an oval. Okay. Once you have something that approaches your wrist and forearm cross section, then go ahead and put it on your pole. So you're going to take it and just slide it onto the post. All right. And that's where we're going to be in a minute or two. Okay, I'll come around and help students as they need it.